So this short video is some feedback about the being wrong source activity that you completed in week 5. Remember, that was when you read the chapter on heartbreak, and I had you use the notes section in the back of the book to talk a little bit about, respond to some answers about context and about sources. Your reading comprehension is really good. Many of you understand, for example, what it meant to be an island. We'll talk about that one in a minute when they brought up Robinson Crusoe in that chapter. And you also understood Cronin's point about inferences, the gap fill exercise that she conducted at Stanford, and being able to sort of not understand another person through inferences fully because we're so in our own experience. So that's good. You all are understanding, I think, the text. I think what you're not understanding, your answers really indicate for this being wrong source activity. Your answers indicated that you don't really know what you're looking at when you look at the notes section. And so these are two important pieces to work on. The first one is deciphering source citations, which I'm going to talk about in this video. And the second one is critical reading, which I will also touch on. And these are important pieces for you to be understanding kind of how to use the notes section. And I'll also go through why that's important. So in terms of deciphering source citations, I'd like you to go back to week 5 and look at this introduction where I talk about using sources well. I wonder how many of you had a chance to really read it and think about it. One of the things that is provided here is a screenshot of a picture of the notes section. This happens to be from page 372 in Being Wrong. And it walks you through how to understand each of these pieces. The being wrong source activity in week 5 tells me, the scores from that tell me that you didn't understand this very well, or many of you didn't understand it. So some of the things to notice is that when we're talking about a book, it's italicized. When we're talking about an article, it's going to be in quotation marks. And so here is up above, see also biases of retrospection on this page on 372. This is an article by this person in this book, it's a journal, Institute for Psychological Therapies. And here's the volume and number. Okay, so your clue is when it's italicized, it's a book. This one also, by the way, has a university press, which tells me it's a book. When it's in quotation marks, it's the title of an article. I'm going to provide this link to the Purdue Online Writing Lab. I have provided this before, but I'll provide it again today because I want you to notice, I want you to look through here and notice that there's some very specific ways that all citations are organized. You're almost always going to see the author first. You're going to see the title of the source. Now this here, they mean the title of the article, okay? And the container, number 3, title of the container, is the thing it was published in, okay? So if you're going to cite Paradox of Error, chapter 14, for your paper that's coming up, you're going to put Schultz, comma, Catherine, quote, chapter 14, Paradox of Error, and in italics, this one is in italics, you're going to say being wrong. Okay, being wrong is the container. It's the book that you find the thing in. If you're finding an article online, as you did for your fake news exercise, you're going to look at the name of the website it was published on. That's the title of the container. The source will be italicized, or will be in quotation marks, and that is the title of the article. So smaller amount first. Title of the article is the sort of smaller unit, larger unit, title of container comes next, and it's in italics. And then it has this other publisher information, location, and publication date that you should also know. So I'll leave this link for you, and you can take a look at that. You are responsible for knowing this content, and it's going to help you also read through citations for this week. So footnotes are literally at the foot of the page. They look like this. You've got this footnote on this page. This is in the book Being Wrong. And so there's like this line here, there's an asterisk, and there's a whole bunch of information. Endnotes are, of course, what you see at the end of the book. That's in the appendix at the end, with these page numbers on the side, and the bolded parts are what you can find in the text of the chapter. And so I think we're confused about those, and that's probably my fault. I didn't explain that very well. typically an endnotes section like this is just going to be a list of references. Like if you're reading a scientific paper, if you're pulling something out of a textbook, if you're looking at any other kind of published, researched piece of data, it's probably just going to be a list of sources. Schultz does this a little bit differently, and that's fine. I want you to learn how to critically read all of these things. So she's providing the citations here. So Wuthering Heights, we can see in this one, is a book. Emily Bronte is the writer. I know it's a book because it's italicized. And here is the University Press and the date. So usually endnotes is a list of citations, and footnotes at the base of the page are extra information, additional information. And I thought that you understood this pretty well when you were looking at Hendricks, and that's what this one is here. So you said, okay, I know we've just met. That was the part on, I think it's page 261, where they talk about Harville Hendricks. Here's his name. Here is, and I know it's a book because it's italicized, the name of the book. Several of you got this wrong on the quiz. And here's where it was published and when. I don't know what chapter she got it out of. So the chapter might have been called How to Know When You've Got the Love You Want. I don't know, I'm just making it up. But we don't need to know the name of the chapter. It would be in quotes if we did, but we don't need to know it because we have the page number, 50 and 51. Okay, so that's the kind of critical reading skills that I'm hoping that you start to pick up. And then in this chapter that you just read last week, Transformation, here's what one of those long endnotes looks like. And notice that it's information that kind of qualifies or adds to what's in the text, but does not provide a citation for it. Many of you on the quiz kept expecting that the endnotes at the end of the book were going to provide this, but it doesn't. So I want to make that clear. And then I think the other thing that you're needing to work on in terms of critical reading is how to notice. Where's the Coetzee one? I think it's here. Yep. Is how to really critically read what's going on here. So in the Being Wrong Source activity from chapter 12, many of you said, oh, you know, the notes in the back of the book help me know more about the credibility of the source. But I don't really know what that means. And I actually don't think you know what that means either. Credibility of the source, how? I mean, I hope you're noticing that Catherine Schultz has a lot of credible sources that she's drawing from psychology and science and the business world. She's also a best-selling New York Times author and knows exactly how to put an argument together. I'm not saying you need not question anything that she has, but for the most part, the credibility is not what's up. What's up is she's trying to communicate to you how she's putting the arguments together and where some of the problems are. And the J.M. Coetzee quote is one of those examples. Coetzee's interest, it says in the end notes in the back of the book, in Robinson Crusoe is clear. He wrote a short novel called Faux, blah, blah, blah. And most of you quote that. You're like, oh, I found out that he wrote another novel. Yeah, but why? Critical reading skills mean that you're asking yourself, why is she including all of this? He spoke about Crusoe, but I have not been able to verify this particular remark. All she's doing here is covering her bases, is saying, yeah, I'm attributing this quote. Robinson Crusoe is my favorite book because every man is an island, but I actually couldn't verify it. I think that's really important, and I think it's a skill that you all need to learn too, so that you're able to use stuff that may not be completely accurate, or you may not be able to source, but you're explaining it. Moreover, if there's some problem with the source, like it's not findable anymore or out of print, this would be a way that you could communicate it, and it's a way that she's communicating it. This is part of having strong, reliable sources. So this week, as you read The Paradox of Error, please consider the footnotes that Schultz uses as she talks about democracy and error. Why does she include these in her book? And then is there any citation information in the notes in the back of the book for Hofstadter or any of the folks that she quotes in the section on democracy? Email me a paragraph reflection on your use of notes in chapter 14 to receive 3 extra credit points this week. Thanks very much.